Welcome to The Explainer. You know what? We're actually going to skip the usual agenda today because we are jumping headfirst into a mystery that has literally captivated the world for nearly a century. We're decoding newly declassified UFO files, and we're going to try to separate the science fiction from cold, hard military reality. So get ready because you're definitely going to look at the sky a little differently after this. Picture this. Our story doesn't start in some grainy black and white past. It starts in 2023 at an undisclosed location right here in the US. What started as an ordinary evening took a really bizarre turn. Federal agents looked up and saw a glowing, orange, ball-shaped object hovering in the sky. Over 2 days, 3 completely different teams, that's 6 highly trained federal officers in total, witnessed the exact same thing. But here is the absolute kicker. They gave sworn testimony that this glowing orb was acting like a mothership. It was literally launching smaller red orbs that zipped around the sky. And this didn't just happen once, it happened 5 times. But wait, the sequel to this story is even wilder. Fast forward 2 years to 2025. A senior intelligence official is flying in a helicopter over that exact same location. And what do they see? Another hovering orb. But the moment the helicopter even tries to approach it, the orb instantly moves 20 miles away, like in a blink. It completely shattered our known laws of physics. It moved so incredibly fast that the helicopter couldn't even attempt to track it. And for the next 35 minutes, they just sat there and watched it launch more of those smaller orbs. So incidents exactly like these, witnessed by highly credible government officials, set the stage for a massive turning point. On May 8, 2026, the U.S. Department of War quietly launched a brand new webpage, war.gov/UFO. And on that site, they dropped 162 previously classified top-secret files. We're talking a massive data dump that included 28 videos and 14 images of unidentified flying objects that the general public had absolutely never seen before. And this brilliantly illustrates just how global and, honestly, how bizarre these recent encounters have been. Look at 2023, off the coast of Greece. An infrared sensor locked onto an object doing 90-degree turns at 80 miles per hour right over the ocean. I mean, basic physics and inertia tell us that is flat out impossible for any aircraft we know of. Then in 2024, it just keeps going. Across Iraq, Syria, and Japan, we have high-speed vanishing objects, weird semi-transparent orange shapes, and over in Japan, a literal football-shaped craft with 3 strange projections sticking out of it. So the crucial takeaway here is that these objects are totally defying our understanding of physics right here in our own atmosphere. But what happens when we look into space? Let's get into Section 1, Space Oddities, Unexplained Sightings Beyond Earth. Okay, let's rewind to 1965. America launches the Gemini 7 space flight. Just a few hours into the mission, astronaut Frank Borman radios Houston with a genuinely chilling transmission. He simply says, "Bogey at 10 o'clock high." Now, ground control naturally assumes, hey, it's just a piece of the spacecraft's booster, maybe some floating space junk. But Borman was adamant. He insisted he could see the booster completely separate from this thing. And sure enough, later analysis confirmed he was right. It was a distinct, third, totally unidentified object. Now, to really get why this transmission sends shockwaves through ground control, you have to understand the terminology. Bogey isn't just a casual word. It's strict military combat language. It's what fighter pilots on Earth shout during wartime when they spot an enemy aircraft or an incoming missile. So, using a terrestrial combat term while floating in the dead, silent vacuum of space? Yeah, you can see why Houston was a little freaked out. And the thing is, Gemini 7 wasn't some isolated fluke. The Apollo lunar missions recorded a bunch of anomalies. On Apollo 11, Buzz Aldrin reported his cabin lights flashing and saw this massive, laser-like light source. Apollo 12 caught unexplainable particles near their landing site. But maybe the craziest one? Apollo 17 in 1972. A photo captured 3 unexplained dots in a perfect triangular formation right above the moon. What's absolutely wild is that 54 years later, the US government admits these dots could actually be physical objects. I mean, sure, they throw in that natural explanations like sun reflections or atomic particles might be the cause, but still, physical objects. To truly wrap our heads around the sheer magnitude of these modern and extraterrestrial sightings, we need a little history lesson. Let's look at Section 2, the flying saucer era, and where the global hysteria began. It all really kicked off in the summer of 1947. A pilot named Kenneth Arnold spotted 9 shining objects flying over Mount Rainier. When he got back, he told reporters they moved like a saucer skipping across water. Well, the media totally misunderstood him. They focused on the shape instead of the motion, and boom, the phrase flying saucer was officially born. Just weeks later, a farmer in Roswell, New Mexico, finds strange debris on his land. The military comes in, issues a press release claiming they recovered a flying disc, and then, the very next day, they do a massive U-turn and say, actually, scratch that, it's just a weather balloon. That massive flip-flop, followed a few years later by objects literally swarming the skies over Washington, D.C., ignited a total global hysteria. It got so intense that the government had to launch Project Blue Book just to investigate it all. So, Project Blue Book runs for 17 years. They investigate over 12,000 cases. Now, the vast majority of those, super easy to explain. Stars, normal planes, actual weather balloons. But out of those 12,000 reports, exactly 701 cases remained completely, stubbornly unidentified. And honestly, it was that tiny fraction of unsolved mysteries that permanently cemented the idea of aliens into our culture forever. Okay, let's dive into this. Let's check out Section 3, Decoding the UFO Pattern, the Geographic and Military Connection. Because if you step back and look at the data from 1947 to today, a massive, undeniable pattern starts jumping out at you, a pattern hiding right in plain sight. Basically, we're staring at 2 entirely different possibilities. On the left side, you've got the alien theory, extraterrestrial visitors randomly buzzing around our planet, checking us out. But on the right side, you've got the military tech theory, which points out a glaring geographical pattern. If you literally plot these sightings on a map, from Cold War hotspots in the 50s and 60s, all the way to modern sightings in Iraq, Syria, and the Strait of Hormuz, the UFOs almost exclusively show up exactly where U.S. military presence and monitoring systems are the most concentrated. And the crazy thing is, the U.S. government actively used this geographic pattern to their advantage. Fast forward to 1994, the Air Force finally admits that the famous Roswell debris wasn't a weather balloon, and it definitely wasn't a spaceship. It was Project Mogul, a highly classified spy balloon designed to monitor Soviet nuclear tests. And those supposed alien bodies people talked about? Just aviation test dummies or, sadly, tragic crash victims. The CIA actually figured out that letting the public run wild with alien theories was a massive bonus. It gave them the ultimate built-in cover story for testing insanely advanced, top-secret aircraft like the U-2 spy plane without tipping off the Soviets. So if the flying saucers of the 1950s were actually classified U.S. spy planes, what exactly is buzzing around in our skies today? Let's get into Section 4, the real government secrets, drones, deception, and distraction. Enter AARO, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, created by the Defense Department in 2022. Their entire mission was to investigate every single UFO claim from 1945 up to 2023. And in their 2024 report, they did not mince words. They were definitive. They found absolutely zero evidence that the government is hiding extraterrestrial technology and zero evidence of reverse engineering alien craft. They concluded that the vast majority of today's unexplained phenomena are extremely terrestrial. Advanced drones, spy planes, next-gen weather balloons, and satellites. Which brings us right back to where we started, that 2023 mothership sighting and the 2024 Japanese football-shaped object. They actually align perfectly with what we know about modern adversarial tech. Foreign adversaries are currently deploying some incredibly sophisticated surveillance. We know for a fact China has actively developed high-altitude spy balloons. One was literally shot down over the US in 2023. And they've developed massive mothership drones that can carry hundreds of smaller drones. So when federal agents see a glowing orb launching smaller orbs over a highly sensitive US location, it turns out foreign military surveillance is a highly probable culprit. Now, looking directly at our source material, there's a very specific and heavily debated claim regarding the timing of all this. The source analysis notes an argument that the Trump administration is releasing these 162 files entirely without analysis or context. The claim presented is that dropping these unexplained videos out into the public sphere intentionally fuels conspiracies and pseudoscience, acting as a deliberate distraction. A distraction to hide political failures and shift the public's attention away from controversies, like the Epstein files. The core argument the source makes here is that transparency, when it's completely devoid of context, actively breeds convenient mysteries. Which leaves us with one final, absolutely essential question. As the great Carl Sagan famously said, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence.
We have seen decades of sightings, blurry infrared videos, and bizarre physics that totally defy immediate explanation. But do these fragments genuinely prove we aren't alone in the universe? Or are they just the latest shadows in a really long, ongoing game of terrestrial military espionage? Next time you look up at the night sky, you kind of have to ask yourself, are you looking at science fiction or the absolute cutting edge of human deception? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep your eyes on the skies.